Do you want to know the secret of SEAL training that gives you unlimited discipline? I'm not talking about the discipline to stand at attention, march around, or other things commonly associated with discipline in the military. I'm talking about the discipline that keeps you progressing towards the things you care about no matter how big the challenge is.
Well, having been through SEAL training myself, I learned how to use this secret. I realized it was a pattern I could use to my advantage. This skyrocketed my productivity,
And I accomplished my goals faster than ever before. It helped me as a SEAL, professional athlete, in business school, and while building my own business. So in this video, I will show you what the secret is and how you can use it to level up your discipline permanently. But first, you need to understand the thing destroying your discipline. Have you ever started something, hit an obstacle you didn't know how to get past, and then quit? When I got out of the Navy, I tried to make it to the PGA Tour for 3 years. I left active duty in November of 2015, and 2 months later, I was teeing it up at qualifying school for the PGA Tour Latin America. On the first tee, I remember being nervous and my palms sweating. I had been in combat, and I couldn't understand why I was getting nervous at a golf tournament. For some reason, I guess I just expected this transition to be easy, but I was in a new environment and the stakes were very real. I remember buddies would say, "Oh, you're playing professional golf, it must be nice." Honestly, playing professional golf without proper preparation was the most stressful thing I have ever done. I was practicing more and more, but it just felt like I was getting worse. I was on a downward spiral, but I wasn't ready to give up on my dream just yet. I reflected back to my time in the SEAL teams and the fact that SEALs train SEALs. I didn't show up at BUD/S as a SEAL. I was molded into one day by day by the instructors and the training.
to learn something new, find someone who's already done it before and learn from them.
So for golf, I needed someone to show me the path, and I found just the person. The first thing he did was ask me about my training schedule.
I told him I practiced 15 hours a day and started to list off everything I would do in a given day.
He stopped me there and proceeded to tell me a story about a guy who had won a bunch of triathlons by actually training less than his competitors. This guy had figured out what the most important parts of the race were, and he spent all his effort training those. So that's what we did for golf, and I started improving immediately. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I'm sure you've heard this before, and here's what it means. You can't teach anything to someone who isn't ready to learn, but you can teach about anything to someone who wants to learn it. This was the first part of the pattern. You have to be ready for the task you are about to undertake and willing to learn. This means that you are curious and eager to learn everything you can, and you are humble and coachable, realizing that you don't have all the answers. It took me 2.5 years to get my golf game good enough to have a chance, but I ended up missing getting my card on the PGA Tour Canada by something like 4 or 5 shots the last time I went to Q school, and I ran out of money for the 3rd time. Maybe one day I'll give it another run, but I had to figure out a way to pay my bills, and I would need the same discipline that got me through SEAL training to get me through some of my darkest days. Long story short, I found a business school taught by successful entrepreneurs. It didn't take me as long to figure out how to find help this time. I was in an MBA program where we had to do lots of financial spreadsheets and stuff like that, and I didn't even know how to use Microsoft Excel. So on top of my workload, I started binging YouTube tutorials on how to use Microsoft Excel. I was ready to learn, now I needed the knowledge. In week 1, I did all the work of week 1. In week 2, I did all of week 2 and week 1. In week 20, I did all the work for week 20 and weeks 1 through 19. Learning is not a passive pursuit. It's not sitting in a classroom and being taught some theory, and it's definitely not getting 70% on a meaningless test. In less than 1 year, I went from 100 job applications and no job to finishing at the top of my MBA class and getting 14 job offers. But I had to put in the work. If you follow this system, you can get similar results. Learning is about the pursuit of mastery, and this is done in 4 steps. You're ready to learn, you get the knowledge, you earn the knowledge by putting it to work and mastering it. You aren't done when you get 100%, you are done when you can get 100% in your sleep. And don't worry, we will get to the 4th step. What does any of this have to do with discipline? Lack of skill and uncertainty lead to a lack of discipline. And discipline is staying with something despite difficulty.
One more, David! Bruce, one more to carry the boats
Well, knowing what to expect and knowing this process of learning gives you certainty in what to expect and eliminates over-expectation. It is much easier to stay disciplined when you know what to do and you have a plan, but you still have to break the action down into manageable steps. In the SEAL teams, when we trained room clearing, we didn't start with a full platoon and multiple rooms and multiple targets. We started with 2 guys in an empty room with unloaded pistols walking. Only when that was perfected did we move to the next level. It didn't matter if you were brand new or you had been in 20 years, every block of training you started with the basics. So when I wrote my first book and decided to launch my YouTube channel, I took this same approach. I found someone who already knew how to do the thing I wanted to do, and I had them teach me the basics. I broke these tasks down into manageable steps and used a crawl, walk, run progression with my focus on mastering the basics. The 4th step in this system is the most important step of all, and it has to do with failure. Most people fear failure, and I used to as well until I learned the failure hack. So if you want to learn the failure hack and how to use failure to get ahead of 99% of other people, then watch this video next.